Today we welcome Alexis Nasard. Alexis, thank you for joining us. Alexis, I met you as the CEO of Bata, a well-known brand. Bata is the world's largest shoemaker by volume, and you led the company between 2016 and 2020. Prior to that, you had spent 17 years at Procter & Gamble in various general management and marketing positions. After Procter & Gamble, you moved to Heineken, another very well-known brand, where over 5 years you were, among other roles, president for the $8 billion Western Europe business and global chief marketing officer. Now, you stepped down from Bata late last year to become the CEO of Kantar, one of the world's leading data insights and consulting company, a position that you just stepped from. Alexis, you're Lebanese. You were born in Lebanon, raised there. You studied engineering there before going to the US to do your MBA. How do you remember your childhood and your formative years, and how have they shaped your outlook on life and or on business?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here. On your question regarding Lebanon, it is true that Lebanon is extraordinary. It is extraordinary in both a positive way and unfortunately also a less positive way. But in a sense, having 4 passports makes me a true Lebanese. And if I reflect a little bit back on how has it influenced my development, my upbringing, and my outlook on life, actually the best way I would describe it is as a cauldron of learning.
Okay.
Why is it a cauldron of learning? Is first of all, it is a very unique place in a sense that if somebody hasn't been there, you just imagine another Middle Eastern country, and it isn't. It's actually much smaller than most people think. The second part is, and by the way, what that teaches you is also adaptability.
Okay.
Because most small people coming from small countries are adaptable.
So you moved from Lebanon to Berkeley, then you graduate from Berkeley, and after a short stint at Bechtel, you joined P&G, where for 17 years you climbed the corporate ladder. Tell us, what was great about P&G, what was maybe less great, and maybe up to 3 insights you got from your time at P&G.
P&G is and will always be my true alma mater. First of all, it teaches you sharpness of thinking.
Okay.
I don't consider myself to be the best communicator in the world, but I'm probably not the worst. The second thing, which is a little bit lost these days because social media has lots of virtues but lots of sins as well, brevity. I am a big fan of brevity, and last but not least is brand management. So on these 3 things, I think P&G is pretty unbeatable.
P&G then invites you to go to the US, and I understand you and your family are a bit lukewarm about the idea, and that's when the Heineken offer materializes. 5 years at Heineken, what was great? Mm-hmm. What, if anything, was less great, and 1 to 3 insights?
The one highlight for me for my time at Heineken at the beginning as CMO, then as president, it was the most fun work I've done. James Bond, Coachella Festival, cool brand, checking nice bars. You know, it's a fun category. But not only that, it's also a Dutch company with the Dutch informal ways and sense of humor. Amsterdam, and a brand that has at its essence wittiness. So the whole mix made it quite a fun experience, I would say, and I remember it very fondly. Some of the key takeaways I have from that experience at Heineken is, contrary to P&G, Heineken was remarkably agile, fast, and nimble for its size.
Okay.
It's a more than a 50 billion euro cap company, so it's not exactly a startup. So you would assume that this comes with heavy bureaucracy, particularly that it plays in alcohol. That's not the case. It is rigorous, but it's very quick. As president, when I was appointed president of Europe, it was a region that was not growing market share for more than 10 years. And people kind of thought it's normal.
Right,
it's
of
Europe.
course.
It's
That's
normal.
why we diversify in other countries.
It's normal,
yeah.
Right? I say, unless you have an 80% market share, no, it's not normal.
Okay. So change
if
of
you have a
mindset.
35% market share, what about the remaining 65? Why is that so normal? And we said, what was our strength as a company at that time? A is brands. We were much better brand managers than anybody else. We could build cool brands people remember, even sometimes for beers that have absolutely nothing special from a product standpoint. The second thing was innovation. We developed incredible innovation agenda. I mean, at the time I joined Heineken in 2010, the beer industry had an average innovation rate of 0.4%, and Heineken had 1%. When I left, it was close to 15%. And everybody in the industry was innovating. What's beautiful about innovation is that everybody wins. Everybody wins. You just enlarge the pie. And then the third one was the company had a firm, I wouldn't say firm, I don't want it to sound anti-competitive, but a solid position in the on-market, in the on-trade, bars, restaurants, hotels. And since these were complex to operate, for a long time they weren't paid enough attention. Whereas in reality, is there a better place to build brand equity than in a fantastic restaurant or in a cool bar, especially if you're selling premium brands? So we doubled down on that.
And then the Bata opportunity comes up. Now,
Yeah.
Bata is a company founded in the late 19th century with a proud heritage. It's also a private company controlled by a family. By the way, also largely rebuilt after the Second World War. Now, first, why this job? How much was the desire to be number one? How much was it the industry? What led you to accept this opportunity?
It's a mix of things. First of all, I love fashion. Okay, that's the frivolous part in me. I love fashion, I love design. So I was interested in that. Second, from an intellectual standpoint, I was always very intrigued by retail. I was intrigued by retail because as a brand builder, this is a dream to control the consumer experience until the checkpoint. You really control it entirely. And I find that quite exciting. The third thing is I was ready to be CEO. You know, I've been president, I've been vice president, I've been CMO, I was ready to be CEO.
Now, late 2020, you agreed to join Kantar, again, a leading data, insights, and consulting company. You knew the company because you'd been a customer for many years, and Kantar had just changed CEO after Bain Capital took a 60% stake from WPP. Now, 4 months later, the mayonnaise didn't really take. What happened?
It's a good analogy, the mayonnaise.
Well, I'm French also. So.
By the way, what happened is when Bain Cap started the recruitment process for me, it hadn't purchased Kantar since a long time. So they were also, in a way, learning about the company. And when I decided to the process started in June, if you like, in the middle of last year. And when it culminated was the end of the year, and then I started my job in December. The reality is that the job was not what neither they nor I thought it was going to be. Okay. It was different in nature, and then we collectively decided to call it a day because it would be less consequential if we made that decision earlier for myself and for the company than doing it rather later. We're living on very good terms. They will tell you the same thing I am telling you, and I sincerely wish them the best of luck in recruiting a suitable successor. I do believe in the potential of Kantar.
Last question. You graduated from Berkeley basically 30 years ago. How does the Alexis of 2021 compare to the Alexis of 1991?
There are some things that stayed the same, some things that didn't. I'm still curious. And I'm still very eager to learn new things. I've always been a very curious and an avid reader. The other thing is I've learned over time is the power of collective success. I believe in inclusive capitalism. I think inclusive capitalism, where everybody participates in success, is a lot more sustainable. When shareholders, management, employees, communities, consumers, distributors and governments win together, it's a lot more sustainable. It's a lot more moral. It's much better for the ecology and the environment, and it's much more sustainable economically. So I really believe in the virtues of inclusive capitalism.
How will that influence your next step?
In every way.
Your next adventure?
In every way. These are some of my beliefs, and they're very sincere beliefs in making the world a better place.
Alexis, I want to thank you for your time and for your candor and for your insights. It was truly a joy to welcome you today.
A pleasure.